Good evening. It's Sunday, January 29th. Time for our news. I'm Konstantinos Tsindas. Turkish Cypriot leader Mustafa Akinci has indicated that he is willing to discuss adjustments to the 1960 structure of guarantees during 2017. But he also argued that the divided island would benefit from a logical number of Turkish troops stationed here, even though he is aware that this is a red line for Greek Cypriots. Turkey, a guarantor of the island along with Greece and Britain, still maintains thousands of troops in the breakaway north following its invasion in 1974. Athens and London are willing to give up this anachronistic role in a reunited EU member Cyprus. Akinci, who was talking to CNN Turk, also said that the Turkish Cypriot community did not want a system of guarantees in which one side feels safe and the other feels threatened. The problem, he added, was Greece's insistence of no army and no guarantees, even though Akinci knows this is the crystal clear position of the Greek Cypriot side. A UN-hosted conference on Cyprus in Geneva earlier this month, with the participation of the three guarantors, focused on security and guarantees in a reunited federal Cyprus. But it yielded no tangible results because of Turkey's insistence to maintain some sort of guarantor's role with the right of intervention. Talks on security continued on a technocrats level. A 44-year-old man from Romania fell to his death while attempting to lower himself onto the balcony of his third-floor apartment in coastal Limassol. Returning to his apartment block with his wife and 18-month-old child and realizing that they had been locked out, Stepan Raba decided to lower himself onto the family's balcony from the roof. Raba apparently contacted his sister, who arrived on the scene in time to see him attempt to lower himself onto the balcony with an antenna wire. Police said Rada fell to his death when the wire he was using snapped. President Donald Trump has discussed Syria and the fight against Islamic State with Russian President Vladimir Putin in one of several calls with world leaders that the new US president used to put his stamp on international affairs. Trump's call with Putin last night was their first since the New York businessman took office and came as officials said he was considering lifting sanctions on Moscow. And this despite opposition from Democrats and Republicans alike at home and European allies abroad. Neither the White House nor the Kremlin mentioned discussion of sanctions in their statements about the roughly hour-long call. The White House said in a statement that the positive call was a significant start to improving the relationship between the US and Russia that is in need of repair, and that both President Trump and President Putin were hopeful that after this call, the two sides could move quickly to tackle terrorism and other important issues of mutual concern. Trump's relationship with Russia is being closely watched by the European Union, which teamed up with the US to punish Moscow after its annexation of Crimea from the Ukraine. President Donald Trump's order to restrict people from 7 Muslim-majority countries from entering the United States has sparked confusion and anger after immigrants and refugees were kept off flights and left stranded in airports. In his most sweeping decision since taking office a week ago, Trump, a Republican, put a 4-month hold on allowing refugees into the U.S. and temporarily barred travelers from Syria and 6 other countries. Civil rights and faith groups, activists and Democratic politicians were furious and vowed to fight the order. Capping a day of confusion and chaos with protests in several airports across the country, a federal judge in Brooklyn, New York, granted a temporary reprieve. The American Civil Liberties Union successfully argued for a temporary stay that allowed detained travelers to stay in the U.S. Supporters outside the Brooklyn courtroom and at protests at airports in Dallas, Chicago, New York and elsewhere cheered the decision, but a bigger fight lay ahead. The court action does not reverse Trump's order, which was criticized by some of America's closest allies. France's socialists today went to the polls to pick their candidate for this year's presidential polls. The primary runoff was between left-winger Benoît Hamon and centrist ex-Prime Minister Manuel Valls. Hamon, a 49-year-old former education minister, won the first round last weekend and has dominated the race with his radical proposals on work, state aid and the environment. But Valls, 54, says his experience makes him a more credible choice and claims his rival's tax and spend program would condemn the party to inevitable defeat. Whoever wins is expected to face an uphill task, with polls showing the socialist candidate being eliminated in the first round of the election in April, after 5 years of unpopular rule by socialist president François Hollande. Mostly cloudy skies with isolated showers and snowflakes on the high mountains. Winds will be moderate to fresh for 3 to 4 over moderate to rough seas. Temperatures will reach 11 degrees Celsius inland, 13 in coastal regions, and 2 over the mountains, where frost is expected to develop. The depth of snow on Mount Olympus is 75 centimeters, with 65 on Troja Square. That's it from us. Join us again tomorrow for more news in English. Have a very good evening.